Who's not coming down the track? Who's not coming down the track? And the leader, she is red and white. Leader, she is red and white. Ain't nothing finer in the land. Ain't nothing finer in the land. When the drums are marching straight to bed. Come on,
What's up, y'all? This is John and Mike back for another episode of the Nothing Finer podcast. This is, I believe, our first to hell with everyone of the off season.
I think so.
All the
We've talked
way,
about some other stuff. I think it's the first, yeah.
yeah, all the way to May. It is
Mhm.
Cinco de Mayo for us. Did you eat tacos today or any Mexican
I
food?
had I had a burrito bowl. I mean, you know what? I mean, if you want to count Chipotle as that, yes, but that's just because they had free chips and guac. But yeah, May the 5th be with you.
um, you know what? I'll count your Chipotle if you count my Sam's Club take home and bake Hatch chili enchiladas that I had today.
Those are, you know what? Those hit the spot. I'll allow it.
Man, I'll be honest, I was skeptical because I'm used to like the red sauce enchiladas that they have, and
Hmm.
I was hosting trivia the other night, and Kelsey was at Sam's, and I was like, just bring me home some enchiladas. They're busy. I don't want to mess with the kitchen. I'll just eat when I get home. And bro,
Hmm.
they are so good. Like I'm still eating leftovers a few days later. They're so good.
Those take and bake meals from Sam's Club. I haven't had one that I hated yet. Some
Yeah,
some are like whatever, but like yeah, like those are really good.
yeah. No, and it wasn't even intentional because it was when I was feeding the dogs, and one of our dogs get medicine on odd number days, like
Hmm.
first, third, fifth, and I was feeding the dogs, and I hit my watch, and I was like, "Oh, today's Cinco de Mayo. Oops."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But if it's Cinco de Mayo, that means we are what is that? 16 days from
Yeah.
Connectionia's Best of Savannah party.
Hmm.
Look, guys, I'm gonna be honest. I need y'all's help bullying Caleb into letting me buy a tattoo machine and give us all nothing finer tattoos.
I mean, I mean, if we're just doing a simple vote, I mean, it's 2-3. He doesn't really have a choice. Does he
Well,
not honor democracy?
no, because consent does matter.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, so y'all help me bully Caleb into that, and I will absolutely do it. I'll have Mike live stream me giving everybody tattoos.
What could go wrong?
Nothing. I don't believe anything could go wrong. It'll be fine.
No, no one's ever regretted a tattoo, especially first time given one.
I'll do it on myself first.
There you go.
Yeah, like it'll be fine. Um, that probably won't happen, so there's that. But did we even say what game we're talking about? I don't I don't know
No,
if
I
we
don't
did.
think so.
So this is the first to hell with everyone of the offseason, and this is the 2014 Clemson game. Um, and so just gonna go ahead and get right into what we were doing because I was like 3 or 4 weeks into basic training. And if you've ever done basic training, especially infantry one station unit training, basic training, um, you don't get anything. Well, at least back in the day, I'm not sure what happens now, but like we didn't have newspapers yet. Um, we I saw my cell phone twice between when I got there and the day I left, and one of those was the day before our technical basic training graduation, and the other was the day before our like final graduation. So I had no idea, and we didn't. They didn't technically withhold mail. They would just occasionally not have time to give you mail. So I was just completely cut off from the rest of the world. Had no idea what happened in this game. Um, but the good news, this was around the time that they quit timing how long you took in the shower. Um, so that was
Why did
nice.
they do that? Why did they do that?
They no, you couldn't take more than 2 minutes in the shower. And I will
Yeah,
say our platoon had it better than some because the other platoons only had 30 seconds. And our drill sergeant goes, I don't want to smell your ass. I'm going to give you 2 minutes.
facts. There you go. Good guy, drill
Um,
sergeant. There you go.
yeah. And we were about 2 months away from earning a radio that we could listen to local Columbus radio stations to. And we had to do 1,000 burpees on a Sunday between lunch and dinner, like 1,000 burpees per person to
Ugh.
earn a radio.
But was Josh Pate on the radio in Columbus at that point?
Dude, I don't know
I don't know. I
what
know he
was
was
on the
doing TV
radio.
out there. No, he was doing TV. I don't know
It
about
it,
radio.
it was 2014. It was like November 2014. Um, yeah, I don't have a clue what we actually listened to. It was just something other than nothing, which was the important thing.
Yeah, there you go.
Um, but yeah, so this today is the first time I've watched the 2014 Clemson game.
It's a treat.
It really is. It's one of those make you feel good about Georgia football games. It really is.
Mhm.
Um,
Do we want to talk about what we were talking about before we got on now, or do you want to wait?
let's do it later.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it later. What were
Okay.
you doing for the 2014 Clemson game?
So, you know, so I was a senior at UGA, and you're like, oh, no, maybe he was at the game. Maybe you don't having a good time and doing that. No, no, I was not. I was getting ready to start student teaching with I, for the life of me can't remember his name off the top of my head right now, but the guy that hosts the Lower UGA pod.
Yeah,
That yeah, I can't remember his name now. But I was getting ready to do my first semester student teaching with him. And then at the same time, I was waiting for Lincoln to make his debut. He was due on September 11th. He ended up coming on the 12th. So we were kind of just waiting around for that second child. So a very different experience watching this game than you had.
yeah. Well, I had the experience today, so definitely very different.
Yeah, right.
But
That you know. No.
uh, yeah, it's most. I would say most college seniors are not waiting on their second child to make an appearance.
At the same time, I was a little bit older at that point. I was turning 25. So I mean, I'm not old at that point, but like older for UGA
Yeah.
for that at that point. But yeah.
Um, and Caleb wanted to leave a note here, even though he's not on the episode. He says, I'm not here for this episode, but this game happened 2 days after I met my wife. Some would argue that is an important event.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty easy argument. Um, so we're going to get into the coaches just a little bit before we get into the players and the game and all that good stuff. So, Mark Richt. We have always had a deep respect for Mark Richt, even though that I think all of us agree that 2015 was his time to step down. Um, I think we have forgotten, since Kirby has become the best coach in the sport, that between 2011 and 2014, that was Georgia's like best and probably most realistic championship window of our lifetime.
What was it? The 07 or '08 season was that was just a year. See, but yeah, window wise, yeah, that stretch was probably the best. Yeah.
And this was the first year post Aaron Murray. We're gonna get into Hudson Mason later, but like
Yeah, we are.
it was a perennial. It was a big deal that at this time Georgia was back to being a perennially ranked team and normally towards the top. Um,
Yeah, they were always right there, kind of since I've been watching them, like because really it was around that time, last couple years before that. Right around like 11 to 15 is kind of that sweet spot.
yeah. And then Davo Sweeney. Clemsoning was definitely still a thing at this point. Clemson was pretty close to Georgia in the 10-2 aspect, but Clemson has stronger history of losing in disappointing fashion. Is
Mhm.
late game collapses. Some would argue Dabo has a late career collapse right now. Uh,
A different kind
But
of Clemson now.
Dabo was in the process of bringing Clemson up, and this being the first year of pre-rub and tug Deshaun Watson.
Well,
Um,
we hope. We hope.
that's true. I've heard some negative remarks about his time at Gainesville High School, but nothing to that extent.
Yeah.
I mean, at
Hopefully
the
he's not
time,
trying that with some health teacher or whatever that's rapping them pregame. Yeah.
yeah, let's hope not. And I will say this was really a sliding doors year for Mark Richt and Dabo Swinney because this was the year before Mark Richt stepped down, and it was the year before Clemson kind of made their first playoff run. Um, so it's a very interesting time. One thing they did note in the broadcast is that Dabo did have 6 SEC wins, leading all non-SEC coaches, and that he did just get a contract extension.
What year did he take over? Do you remember?
Oh, it was way earlier than you think. I'm gonna look it up real quick, but what year do you
Yeah.
think that he took over?
I want to say, was it 2011?
Um, interim in 2008, took over in
Really?
2009. Yeah,
Golly, man. So
he's
literally like my entire adult life. God.
he he started coaching there in 2003. 03 to
Huh.
06, he was wide receiver coach. 07 to 08, he was the assistant head coach and wide receivers coach, and then 08 interim head coach and offensive coordinator, and then 2009 to now.
I can't see the man doing anything besides making like cringy TikToks and just clapping really hard.
He also does a very good job at looking disappointed.
He's got a lot of experience there, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it is absolutely wild to think that Dabo Sweeney at this point, other than what is it, Kirk Ferentz and then Dabo for longest tenured power conference head coaches.
Yeah, it's got to be, right? Yeah, Kirk has been there for
I
20
think he
something
was
years.
born as the Iowa head coach. I think he was born at 55 years old as the Iowa head coach.
Yeah, that's one that you think that you can't imagine someone being like not gray hair and just old, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Do you lose your train of thought?
yeah, I did. I
Okay.
can remember. Someone like Clint Eastwood was what I think I was going at or somewhere like that.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, Clint Eastwood is getting close to 100 years old, but I think he's always looked almost 100 years old.
Hmm. Oh, Steve Martin. That's the other one I was thinking of. Steve Martin's always been old.
That's a good point. I think he dyed his hair white, kind of like how Ryan Day dyes his hair black.
It looks way better white, but yeah.
All right, so we're gonna get into some of the stars of the game. Ironically, two of these are former Falcons players for Clemson.
Oh yeah. I was looking at the
Uh,
first name on there. I'm like, did he play? I don't remember.
no, so the first star that we have listed for Clemson is Clemson offensive coordinator from 2014, Chad Morris. Um,
Legend. SEC legend.
Legend of the game, some would
Yeah.
argue. Uh,
Mm.
and at some point in here, I have it, but I'm going to go ahead and say it now. If Clemson fans want to be excited about Chad Morris coming back, watch the first half of this game.
Yeah, it was
Don't
frustrating.
watch the second half.
Yeah.
Watch the first half only. Um,
But he's back, man. He's back. Bringing back the glory days. Got the band
he
back together.
is hot take here. When Dabo retires in 2 to 3 years, Chad Morris is Clemson's next head coach.
Oh, that'd be sick. Oh, I love that. Love that for them.
All right, so the next guy that we have as stars, and I'll be honest, man, I don't know very many Clemson players from 2014, so if I didn't recognize a name when they were talking about it on the broadcast or in the, I looked up the box score for this one. If I didn't recognize a name, I didn't put it down. So there's not really any. Um, but second name, Mike Williams, longtime NFL wide receiver now. He did not have very many catches in this game, but
No.
he was still a very important part of this Clemson offense. And then here we get to the Falcons players. We have Vic Beasley. Some would argue his one good NFL career warranted like the 10th overall draft pick that they spent on him. Um,
Hmm.
I think the only person that would argue that's Arthur Blank because he's senile.
Yeah.
And then Grady Jarrett, somebody that the Falcons should have sold their soul to re-sign as the heart and soul of the
Hmm.
defensive front seven. And for a long period of time, he was one of the best interior defensive linemen in the NFL. And the Falcons are just like, man, you want to be good? Definitely go somewhere else.
No, we don't do that here.
Yeah.
God, whatever happened to Vic Beasley? I know he was a flash in the pan. Did he have? It wasn't like a James Pierce situation, was it? Because I can't honestly can't remember what he.
Let's
Something
see.
weird happened.
Let's see what he's doing now.
He might be
I
in
know
jail.
he.
I don't know.
So, whoa, I don't think he's in jail.
I I don't
Eighth
know.
overall pick in 2015, played for the Falcons. 15 and 19, they did not re-sign him. He played for the Titans and Raiders in 2020, and he's been in the UFL for, well, nope, he's not in football anymore. UFL 23 and 24.
Hmm. Okay, I was just hoping it wasn't James Pierce type deal for him. Although he's not in jail either now, I guess. But
Yeah, and it's wild. All ACC Defensive Player of the Year, school's all-time sack leader, All-American, consensus
hmm.
All-American in 2013, 2014. 2016, he was Pro Bowl and All-Pro, and 8 years after he was Pro Bowl and All-Pro, he's playing for the Arlington Renegades as his final year of football.
That's that's a tough fall off. I mean, hopefully he was wise with his money, but if he was playing the UFL, probably not.
Probably not. You want to know what makes us both really sad?
What's up?
Grady Jarrett plays for the Bears.
Ooh, I
Yeah,
was gonna say like there's not much in the NFL that could we can both agree on. So
yeah. I mean, come on now. We both agree on a lot of things about the Lions. Just you have positive takes, I have negative takes.
yeah, that fair, fair.
Like if they would have spent any of their draft capital of the last 3 years on cornerbacks that had knees, they probably would have won the Super Bowl at some time in the last 3 years.
Or even just a secondary. Like both Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. I don't know if they can walk again. I don't know. That remains to be seen. And
Brian
then Terry Hill
Brian
can't
Branch
help.
was the most overrated safety of the last decade in the draft, and I don't understand why he was taken as high as he was. The man just continued to
Yeah.
get cooked by mid slot receivers in the SEC, and
Hmm.
everybody was like, "But he's like 6'1" and 230 pounds and runs fast. We can teach him." If Nick Saban could not teach him, he is unteachable. If Nick Saban could
Fair.
not teach someone of that size how to be a successful safety, put them at linebacker and say, "See ball, get ball, bleed with your
Hmm.
head. You'll have a short career."
And I think that's exactly what he did. I don't know how much longer he's gonna be able to play for.
Yeah, I just don't. Man, the amount of Green Bay fans that were pissed off when Green Bay passed on Brian Branch was insane. I'm like, what? I
Hmm.
don't. You see that A with a dingleberry and think it's good. That's because y'all in Wisconsin don't watch college football anymore.
Yeah.
That Alabama secondary has not been good for a while.
They didn't let Wisconsin score on him, throw on him last year. Well, couldn't really throw it on anyone. But yeah,
Wisconsin fans haven't watched a Wisconsin game in years.
yeah, that's fair.
Since they went 10-2 and fired their coach, they were like, I give up.
Yeah, it's never gonna
Um,
happen.
all right, Georgia Stars. I do have notes about a lot of these guys, and there's a couple of guys I'm going to look up while I'm talking about it. But the first guy, Jordan Jenkins, who was electric
Hmm.
in college. He was third round pick in 2016 by the Jets. No wonder he didn't do all that much. And then he played for the Texans and the Raiders. He has been out of the NFL for 3 years now, surprisingly. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, he did have a 6 year career. but no, he did a lot of great things at Georgia and was
Yeah.
definitely a star. Um,
Hmm.
Leonard Floyd, he's a guy that didn't necessarily break records at Georgia, but was good plus. I would say somewhere between good and great at Georgia.
Hmm.
He was also still in the NFL as of last year.
And he's gotten paid too. He's got a couple decent like signing bonuses and whatnot. He's played at some good teams.
Yeah, once he got in the NFL, he gained a little bit of weight, and the size has helped him become not just a speed rusher off the edge, but also he's able to turn the run back on the inside. He's been an anchor of quite a few defensive lines over his career. He's just never really played for a team that was good,
Hmm.
which kind of sucks for him.
The 84 is still weird as a pass rusher.
Yeah, yeah, it, yeah. Um, Next guy, obviously, Todd Gurley. So
So much fun. Yeah.
we have not done. You're either the goat or you're not for running backs because I think this is going to be the most highly contentious episode of that series.
Yeah. It's gotta be.
But I think there's a very solid argument that he's the goat Jordan running back. Like I will hear your Herschel arguments, but also watch Todd Gurley play football. That's
It's insane. It's just kind of an even if you're like a Nick Chubb guy, just watching Todd Gurley was just different.
yeah, for sure.
I mean, I
And
love Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's on my Mount Rushmore, but God, I mean, Todd Gurley's is different.
yeah, and I will say, if my knees were any good and you could donate knees, I think if Todd Gurley had new good knees, he'd still be a top five running back in the NFL today.
And if they let him sign autographs and get paid for it, that would have been great. Because then he wouldn't
Yeah,
end that whole thing. He should have won the Heisman that year. That season was robbed from us.
yeah. Um, and I still think after watching a few games over the last couple of years, just rewatching Todd Gurley games, I think football was easier for Todd Gurley than anything is for me to do.
It definitely looked that way. I mean,
And he just they talked about it in this broadcast late in the game of like Todd Gurley's on the sideline with so much emotion, and he was just stone faced, like talking to people, and it's like this man just ran for like a 50-yard touchdown to get a lead on a ranked Clemson team that beat Georgia last year. And he celebrated for about 4 seconds in the end zone and then just walked to the sideline and stood there.
like for someone that had what like two rushing touchdowns and almost 200 rushing yards and a 100-yard kickoff return.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's just wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Um, Chris Conley. And I have him in stars instead of forgotten stars because I'm still such a Chris Conley fan. Like they talked negatively about him a little bit in this broadcast. They were like, Chris Conley's a possession receiver. He's not really a guy that's going to be a star. And it's like, but he was Georgia's most consistent receiver for like 4 years. I don't why is
Yeah.
it okay?
And I want to say he played in the NFL probably close to like 10 years too. Like
He did. I want
yeah.
to say the last team was the Jaguars, right around the time they
I
got Trevor
feel
Lawrence.
that seems right. I'm trying to look at it now. The last team he played for was the Niners.
Okay.
Um, June 2025, he officially retired after 10 NFL seasons. Then he returned to UGA to pursue film.
Yes.
Yeah, because the
Yes,
Star
because he's
Wars
done
video.
Star Wars
Yeah,
videos. Okay. Yeah, yeah. We remember that at the
yeah.
exact same time.
The
Um,
video was sick. Now that I think about it, I'm gonna go back and watch it.
yeah. Um, I'm a big Chris Conley fan. Like no matter what anybody says, and I feel like a lot of people still have negative memories of Chris Conley, specifically from the 2012 SEC championship game.
Yeah, I
It
mean he did what
it
receivers
wasn't
catch the ball.
his fault. It wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
The ball was tipped to the line of scrimmage and somehow maintained a perfect spiral as it got deflected 30 degrees directly to him. What
Hmm.
is he supposed to do as a wide receiver?
Yeah, I can't be mad at Chris Conley.
No, that was
I
the
could be
right
mad at,
tackle's fault.
I could be mad at Aaron Murray.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily for that, but for a lot of other things.
Yeah. And it was the right tackle's fault for
Hmm.
allowing the defensive end to get his hand up there. But
Hmm.
like that's it's not Chris Conley's fault. Y'all give the guy a break.
Yeah.
Um, two guys, they shouldn't be lumped together, but they always will be. Sony Michel and Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
I will die on the hill that Sony Michel and Nick Chubb are the greatest running back duo in the history of the SEC.
I mean, I was about to put this in here too. I mean, you think about it, all four of them were in the same running back room. Todd Gurley, Keith
Man,
Marshall, Tony Michelle,
Keith
and Nick Chubb.
Keith just he was because of the injuries that he had sustained throughout his college career, he was a shell of who he was as a freshman. But
Hmm.
man, Gershel,
That was the thing. The kids don't remember.
they don't. And number
Yeah.
3 and number 4 being Gershel, yeah,
Just worked out.
bro.
Chef's kiss.
I know they say they didn't do it on purpose, but they did that on purpose. Once the Gershel
Hmm.
thing came out, they absolutely did that on purpose.
Yeah. The
Um,
NIL they could have got from that alone. My God.
yeah, who needs to sign autographs when you're selling Gershel t-shirts at the bookstore?
Yeah. Right.
Um, yeah, like, but Nick and Sony, they're gonna forever be lumped together, although they should not be because how great they were individually. Nick, uh, I think he's more of a fan favorite. I'm not sure why fans like Nick more than Sony.
If I had to guess, it was probably just the severe injury aspect of it and him coming back. I think, and the fact that he's from Georgia.
That's probably fair. Um,
But like
Potentially,
Sony has the more iconic moment, but
as Sony has multiple more iconic
yeah,
moments. Also, 2017, Sony Michel was probably a hot take, and this is gonna piss people off. 2017, Sony Michel was a significantly better running back.
there's a reason why he was a first round pick. He was taken before Nick Chubb.
Only one pick before Nick Chubb, but still before Nick Chubb.
Was it only one pick? Because I know Sony was the first runner. I know Nick was the second. Was it really
Sony
that
was
close?
Sony was if it wasn't one, it was two. Sony was 31 or 32 overall, and Nick
Yeah,
Chubb was 33.
I'm gonna look it up real quick for
All right.
sure. I mean, that feels right.
Um, but yeah, Sony Michel was the much more explosive running back in 2017. Think
And he
about
can catch. He can catch out of the
yeah,
backfield. He can do both. That's why I wanted him more than
think
Nick
about
Chubb.
think about all the different moments from 2017 alone of Sony Michel busting off like a 60-yard touchdown run against Florida, or Sony Michel with the wild dog formation in the Rose Bowl, or Sony
Hmm.
Michel with like a 70-yard touchdown run in the Rose Bowl. Like he was a more explosive running back. I'm just saying. Um, Another star that didn't get a ton of playing time in this game, true freshman Isaiah McKenzie.
He did get a punt return late. They were very
He
excited about that.
he did, and he got a couple of runs as a wide receiver, which
Hmm.
the broadcast did act like they'd never seen before.
It's the human joystick.
And it's like,
Love that.
yes, let's fast forward to 2016 against Vanderbilt on a short fourth down, where Isaiah McKenzie gets a handoff again. I
Um,
I will
yeah,
never forgive Jim Chaney for that call.
yes, yeah, that was bad. For the record, yeah. So Sony was picked 31st and Nick Chubb was picked 35th. So it was
Oh,
close.
35th. I
Yeah,
thought he was 33rd. Um, what's that? Five
four
apart.
picks. Yeah, 31 to 35. I get not a math guy.
31, 32, 33, 34, 35.
Yeah.
How many finger on hand? And the last star that we're going to talk about for Georgia is David Andrews. And the note that I have in here is I thought he went to the NFL in like 2008. I think he's been 35 years old since he graduated high school.
For real. Golly, that yeah, it felt like he was there way earlier than that.
Right. I Wild.
I mean,
Um,
some would say he was probably the most important Patriot during that whole dynasty, but
I
I mean,
would agree with that. Least problematic for sure.
I can't think of one bad thing anyone ever said about David Andrews at when he was in New England.
Um, so we got Forgotten Stars, and
I definitely forgot about the first one.
I didn't get to watch any like I watched three Georgia games in 2014. Nope,
Mm,
two. I watched two. So I have a reason to have forgotten about this guy. But I'll be honest, I don't care what the number said. I was impressed because a lot of his incompletions were drop passes.
yeah. Hmm.
Um, but Cole Stout, if you have not watched the 2014 Georgia Clemson game recently, you have no clue who Cole Stout is.
Hmm.
But this was his first start at quarterback for Clemson, starting over a freshman Deshaun Watson. Um, and he's a guy that stuck around behind everybody, and then finally got his chance. And then they two quarterback systemed it for Deshaun Watson to play in games. And I will say, if the transfer portal was a thing in the early 2010s, Cole Stout would have been an elite Big 12 quarterback.
Oh, for sure.
Can you imagine the way he played in this game, especially the first half? Once again, I'm going to put the second half play calling almost entirely on Chad Morris. But if he played the way he did in the first half at Baylor or like air raid Texas Tech,
Oh man, he made some money.
yeah, like he
So
would have
he
been,
so he took over after Taj Boyd, who was like the best Clemson quarterback that ever existed prior to Deshaun Watson existing.
yeah. And no,
Uh,
I would have loved to have seen Cole Stout in Texas Tech air raid. Um, but we don't have Deshaun Watson in the stars or forgotten stars because he played a total of like 6 snaps. One of those was a touchdown drive where he threw some great passes. One of those was a three and out. They put him in late after the offensive line was just cooked and let him get beat up. Uh, he didn't really do much of anything in this game. Um, but for the Georgia Forgotten Stars, and I know if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that Mike has stepped away, but I would really love, you know what, we're going to skip this first guy. We're going to skip this first guy because I know that we have a lot to talk about with him. Um, John Atkins, forgotten star at Georgia. Geno Atkins gets a lot of love, but John Atkins was a great player. He went undrafted and played 4 years in the NFL, 4 years in the UFL. As an interior defensive lineman, to get 8 years of play is pretty impressive. Um, Hudson Mason waited his turn at Georgia and was upper tier mid. Um, and then Mike has a note in here. It says that he was a Hudson defender for the longest time, but rewatching this game made me side with the haters. He's store brand gunner, but gives you heartburn. I think store brand gunner is even a little generous. He was less athletic Jake Fromm.
who was that?
Hudson Mason.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, came back at the perfect time. I think, I don't know if you said how
Yeah, I read the store brand gunner. I don't even think that's appropriate. Like I think that's a little too nice.
it is. I was such a big Hudson Mason defender. And then he was better than I remembered. Or I'm not better. He's definitely a lot worse than I remembered. I thought just watching him at the time, I'm like, oh, he's not that bad. Dude has the most noodly arm ever. My God, it's like 40-year-old Peyton Manning out there.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It was worse than I remember. And I
And
think
he had all the passing records in the state.
here's the thing. I think a lot of Georgia fans really wanted to like Hudson Mason because I feel like it's a thing at Georgia. If you wait your turn, the fan base in general, there's always going to be some detractors out there, but the fan base in general, if you wait your turn, the fan base is going to be behind you until you earn for them to not be behind you.
Carson Beck.
Right. Uh huh. And he waited his turn. He did the right thing. Like this is his fifth year at Georgia. Like this is his last
Mhm.
year of eligibility. Period.
Yeah. Mhm.
And he came in and he did just exactly what I said. Upper tier mid.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah. I don't even. I guess I liked him more than Grayson Lambert. I guess. I guess. I don't know. I mean, I didn't like
yeah,
Grayson Lambert either, obviously, but
I will say I liked Hudson Mason more, but Grayson Lambert was ballsier, and I respected that.
mhm.
Like Grayson would just rip it in between three defenders and hope his guy caught it or it hit the ground.
Yeah.
And by rip it, I mean like throw a 40-mile-an-hour uh, like wobbly
For
duck.
him, I would say for him, a 40-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah. So I
I would
did.
say Hudson Mason gives god awful takes. Like I don't know if he still does radio at 680, but I guess that fits. But I don't know, his sports takes made it even worse.
Okay, this might be a little mean. Should we try to get him on the podcast and be like, so what do you think about being considered upper tier mid at Georgia?
It's worth a shot. I thought he might be he might be coaching high school football now. I don't
Where
know.
at?
I don't
Because
know.
we can decide how much we hate him by where he's coaching.
Let's see.
We don't hate him. That's not the right word. It's just it's one of those like you lose the nostalgia about certain players when you go back and watch them and you
Hmm.
realize they weren't that good.
Exactly. I mean, like I said, I liked Hudson Mason a lot more prior to rewatching this game. I'm like, you know what? Everybody was right. He did suck.
Yeah, not good. All right, so let's see. According to Wikipedia,
I'll say Copilot says he's still at 680 the fan. I don't feel like he is,
did you
but
know
I
in
mean,
August of 2022 he won the long drive competition at the John Smoltz Golf Classic?
no, good for him. Real, really.
As of January 20th, he was at 680.
Hmm. Okay. He spent some time in the CFL as well.
Yes. So he talks on 680 and he does some games broadcasting for ESPN.
That's right. Okay, that's why. Okay.
Yeah. Um. Anyways, so I did skip the first forgotten Georgia star because I know we're gonna have a good time talking about this guy.
Yeah.
And it's Jeremy Pruitt. And maybe it's just me, but I completely forgot that he was the defensive coordinator in 2014 and 2015. I could have sworn it was just 2015, and that was when, like, the drunk driving to another
Yeah.
coach's house to try to
Fight on
find
the
him thing
lawn.
happened.
Fight on the lawn. Mark Rick telling him to stop. Boys, just stop.
Here's the thing. The way I picture this is Jeremy Pruitt's drunk, and the other guy's trying to calm him down, and then Jeremy Pruitt throws a punch. And I don't remember who the other coach was.
What? Oh, I was gonna say no. For whatever reason, I was gonna say Grantham. It definitely was not Grantham because they
No.
weren't there together.
And then the other coach just pulls Jeremy Pruitt's shirt over his head and traps him.
Why is it so dark? I can't see.
And then Mark Rick comes outside with a broom and starts hitting them both.
Y'all go and get.
That's exactly how I picture that situation in my head. And then because Mark Rick's such a good guy, he and his family get Jeremy Pruitt in the car, and Mark Rick drives him home so he doesn't drive drunk. And the whole time he's like, Jeremy, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. As they're
I
listening to Casting Crowns.
I I I hope he went to go fight Brian Schottenheimer because Brian Schottenheimer deserved to get his ass kicked for 2015.
No, that's who it was. That's who it was.
Was it?
I'm
Yes,
pretty
thank God.
sure
Yeah,
they both deserved it. Is the thing.
yeah. Who
Um,
sucks more? It's a draw.
but yeah, no, I just imagine Mark Rick coming outside and beating them both with a broom, and then getting Jeremy in the car, and like I said, listening to Casting Crowns, like perfect early 2000s
Yeah.
radio Christian music. Jeremy, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Um, and then you do have a note in here.
Trying to figure out where.
Get into it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Did he? Do you think he ever learned what asparagus is?
He said he did. He was asked in an interview. I think once he went back to Alabama with Saban, he was asked in the interview, and he said, "I've always known what it was. I just forgot what it was called for a minute."
Something that happens to everybody, right?
Yeah. Um.
Oh, so co-pilot says that it was allegedly assistant coach Mike Eckler.
Who?
I don't know. He was an inside linebackers coach and special teams coordinator.
Oh,
I
that's
don't
a
know.
lot less fun.
No, I'm gonna choose to believe it was Brian Schottenheimer.
Correct. Yeah, that's what we're gonna bring.
Yeah.
If you or Caleb wants to get AI to make a video of the situation I described,
Yeah.
please, please do. Um,
Yeah. No, noted.
and the next forgotten Georgia star I have is Damian Swan. I was always a big fan of his.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
is my Hudson Mason for you. Like
Hmm.
when I think back about this era of defense, I'm like, dude, Damian Swan was so good in this game. I'm like, Damian Swan was so there.
He was always there to like just say congratulations, nice catch.
He was there to make the tackle after allowing a 20-yard reception.
I was the same way. I remember Damian Swan being a lot better than what he showed in this game, but you know,
And to
again,
be fair, maybe our perspective has changed after years of like Kamari Lassiter and all the like. You went from Tyson Campbell and Eric Stokes
mhm.
to Kamari Lassiter to a couple years and not that good, and then to
Mhm.
Ellis.
Yeah. Right, right.
Um, yeah, so maybe our perspective just a little shifted, is what I'll
Hmm.
say about that. And then a guy that I still have so much like I was worried watching this game back that I was going to lose a lot of the nostalgia that I had for a Marlo Herrera because for
Yeah.
whatever reason he was my favorite Georgia linebacker for a very long time. Like pretty
Mhm.
much until Roquan popped off in 2017, for me it was a Marlo Herrera. One all name team.
I was gonna say dope name. That definitely helps.
And later, either earlier or later, it was earlier in his career, he wore the giant neck pad.
Hell yeah. Like the Halo
Oh, like the
thing.
giant like rectangle
Yes.
behind the helmet. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And he was just a thumper. And so I would still say that regardless of the stats, a Marlo Herrera is somewhere between 5 and 10 of my favorite Georgia linebackers. Like for
Yeah.
whatever reason, I just remember him hurting people,
Hmm.
and that brings a lot of nostalgia for. And granted, Todd Grantham defenses, like he's the type of guy that was very good in a Todd Grantham defense because that dump off pass would go to the running back, and then you would just see a streak of red and the running back die, and a Marlo Herrera would get up like stomping across the field.
Yeah. Which he did a lot in this game.
Yeah. Reggie Davis. He's a guy that never
Oh.
really truly lived up to his potential, but he was an electric return man.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for him to pop off. Like he's he's gonna be elite at some point soon. I can feel it.
He was, I think, if everything worked out and there was better quarterback play, Reggie Davis could have been mid 2010s Mecole Hardman.
Yeah, that's a good comp. Mhm.
Um, Michael Bennett, he was lad before lad,
He was,
not as good
yeah,
lad
big.
before lad.
Yeah, I was gonna say he was again. He was probably store brand lad. It seemed I don't. He's a lot slower than lad. Not as
He's
sneaky.
clunky.
Yes, yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's exactly how he was.
There's one play, and I don't remember. I think it was a 2013 LSU game. There's one play of his that I will never forget, and it was him streaking across the back of the end zone, makes the catch, and then has to like do an aerial barrel roll over like a giant xylophone into the
Yeah,
hedges because it's right before halftime.
yeah.
That is the play I always remember about Michael Bennett.
Hmm.
Dominic Sanders, whose name was called all of 0 times in this game. Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
all-time interception leader at Georgia. He was a lot of fun to watch play in the times that he was putting a hand on the football because he was either intercepting it or allowing it to be completed,
Hmm.
and that was kind of his career. Um, Aaron Davis, walk on that started his career as he started playing as a redshirt freshman, as a walk on, stayed after a coaching change, and then turned into an SEC and Rose Bowl and one play from national champion. All
Hmm.
time great story.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Keith Marshall, the damn injuries.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about Keith Marshall already, but just one thing that I think people forget is he was a higher rated recruit than Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley was a three-star coming out of North Carolina. I think Keith Marshall was, I want to say he was a five.
And things, freshman Keith Marshall, like there's a reason that in 2012, when Georgia lost the SEC championship, most Georgia fans like we were mad, right?
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
we would have won a national title if that pass was completed 3 yards further down the field.
Hmm.
Factual statement.
Yeah.
But everybody was like, man, we got Aaron Murray and Keith Marshall and Todd Gurley and Chris Conley. And I was like,
Hmm.
what are we worried about? The answer was Todd Grantham and that
Yeah.
defense.
Right. Right.
Fun fact, because they say it a few times in this broadcast, Georgia set a program record in 2013 for their average yards per game
Hmm.
and still lost 3 games because it was the worst defense of the 21st century for the University of Georgia.
Yeah. Hmm.
So there's that. So to get into the game flow, and this is just kind of like moments throughout the game that kind of stood out to us. Um, I will say the first half of the first quarter of this game felt like it was going to be 2013 LSU all over again.
Hmm.
I mean, big plays and touchdowns, and then it very, very quickly slowed way down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the hit that got Clemson in 4th and goal on their first drive, 1,000% targeting.
Yeah.
Tim Kimbrough lowers his head. No part of his body is touching the ground as the crown of his helmet ear holes the running back. And they were just like, that was a great hit by Tim Kimbrough. And I'm like, just a few years later, that man would be in handcuffs
I would
before he
say that's a
stood up.
felony. That's a felony.
Like, he got 3 steps closer to CTE from that hit, but
Hmm.
also he would be in jail
Yeah.
in 2026 for that hit.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, Georgia having elite special teams in this game wasn't a shocker. It is kind of crazy though, and this is something we've talked about over time, is that it doesn't matter how many things change and how time changes so much. Certain things never change. Like
Hmm.
Georgia having elite special teams. Is there a single year we have not been able to say that as Georgia fans?
The only year that we thought it might have been a problem, we ended up having Hot Rod,
Yeah,
and it wasn't a problem.
yeah. And like last year, people were complaining about Peyton Woodring, who broke the school record for completion percentage of field goals
Hmm.
or made field goal percentage.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and then this is 100% a me thing, and I hope we can get Caleb to like get the clip of the get the clip from the game and then tie this like overlay the audio of what I'm about to say. Around
Mm.
4-ish minutes left in the first quarter, there's a deep shot pass where Bobo has the entire offensive formation just slowly drift to the right sideline, all protecting the quarterback. And he throws a deep pass. And this is Hudson Mason's deep pass. So it went just as high as it did long and still ended up short.
Yeah.
But do that with Gunnar Stockton and this year's wide receivers, and I would bet it's a touchdown more often than not. If you
Hmm.
somewhere between the 50 and the 35, every time you do that, I would be willing to bet it's a touchdown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how, how, how is it like, oh, potentially one of the best plays I've drawn up in my entire career? Never going to use it again.
Forget about it.
Oh, I actually have a mobile quarterback now. Nah.
Screen to Zach Branch. Let's go.
Well, that worked. Let's not.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Um. Anyways, Deshaun Watson's first pass of the game was a direct reflection of what Jeremy Pruitt taught the defensive backs about batting the ball down after the prayer at Jordan Hare,
Hmm.
because this is Quincy Mauger and a corner who I can't remember who it was. Both are at the wide receiver, and they both, instead of going for an interception when either of them could have had it, they both took both hands and swatted the ball directly to the ground.
Can't be too careful.
You can't. After
No.
what happened in 2013, no, you can't.
Hmm.
Um, Clemson went for more fourth downs in this game than they have potentially since this game.
Hmm.
Just maybe Chad Morris is the answer for Clemson.
It could be. They're again. That's what they're saying.
I think it's Chad and Dabo that are saying he's the answer, but I'm not going to argue with them.
Right.
Um, the commentator quote during Todd Gurley's kickoff return, where it's just like a quick moment of silence, and he says, "The great equalizer, Todd Gurley, elite."
Hmm.
I believe it's Brad Nessler.
I'm pretty sure it was. I think you're right.
So it took a lot of digging because this was obviously way into the game, and I had to go back and see who it was because it was Sean McDonough and Brad Nessler on the call. Not a big Sean McDonough fan.
He's all right. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not like, oh, you got McDonough. Like, whatever.
yeah. And so the problem is, anytime what I did is I went back and looked at like Sean McDonough's greatest calls, and according to YouTube, his greatest calls are all within like the last 2 years, in which he's gotten older and his voice sounds a lot like 2014 Brad Nessler.
There's something said for that then. Okay.
And then I went to Brad Nessler greatest calls, and the Florida Tennessee Felipe Franks
Oh yeah.
Hail Mary
Yeah.
was on there, and it was like it's him,
Yep.
gotta be him. Um,
I love Brad Nessler.
yes,
I mean, it doesn't quite have his fastball like he anymore, but no, he's still good.
yeah, peak to peak, he's one of the best.
Yeah. And then I added in there like the with the Todd Gurley, excuse me, Todd Gurley kickoff return for a touchdown. The sky cam angle of that. Oh my God, it's perfect.
I hope the guy that was on the Skycam got a raise for
Hmm.
being able to perfectly track Todd Gurley for 100 yards.
Yeah, that was nice.
Because if you give most Skycam guys 100 chances, most of the time it's not going to end up like that one did.
Hmm. I feel like this one gets that play gets forgotten about instead of and then people remember the Auburn one that didn't ultimately didn't count
Yeah,
uh, more, which I again bigger stakes at that point because he was first game he was back and then obviously got hurt not too soon after that. But yeah, this play was sick.
yeah. Um, third quarter was a giant nothing burger. It if you wanted to watch Georgia use multiple punters to pin Clemson within the 20-yard line every time they got the football on offense, watch the third quarter of this game. You like
Okay,
watching,
Iowa fans, bookmark that, timestamp that.
yeah, if you like watching offense and good defense, because here's the thing, the third quarter didn't even have good defense. It was
Hmm.
missed passes and like I think Todd Gurley had like 2 carries in the third quarter. They were just generally
Yeah,
like, let's give him a break. And Keith Marshall, injured Keith Marshall, played most of the fourth quarter in his first game back from an ACL surgery,
yeah,
and his burst just wasn't there.
hmm
Um, the fourth quarter was just a general defensive takeover in Sanford for Georgia. We've
hmm
seen it time in and time out as far as Georgia games have gone. Um, I think this is one of the best fourth quarters of Leonard, or best quarters of Leonard Floyd's entire career of football.
yeah,
Because I think he had 3 total sacks just in the fourth quarter. He had like 4 or 5 tackles for loss. If the football was in the backfield, Leonard Floyd was not far away in the fourth quarter of
hmm
this game.
yeah.
Um, and I will say, to use some UFC phrasing, this fourth quarter was exactly what they're talking about when they say drag you into deep water and let you drown.
Ooh,
Because Georgia just, they were like, all right, come here, Clemson. You're so close.
mhm.
You're so close. You're so close. You can't swim.
Yeah,
And just let them kill themselves. Because, and tell me if you heard this before, Clemson's lack of depth killed them at the end of this game. They didn't have the guys to keep up with the amount of bodies Georgia was able to throw at them. And how many times have we been able to say that throughout the last
yeah.
decade with Clemson games?
I mean, just imagine like fighting for 3 quarters and then having freshman Nick Chubb just run through a motherfucker's face.
Yeah, like every single running back that was on the field in the fourth quarter looked like prime beast mode Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah,
Just like
yeah.
bouncing off of people and always going forward. Like how many
Mhm.
40-plus yard touchdown runs were there just in the fourth quarter?
God, there's probably at least three, right?
I think it was 3. And
Yeah.
Chubb would have had another touchdown. And this is something that I feel like Georgia fans, including myself, really got into Mark Richt about, especially later in his career. He never tried to like put an exclamation point on games. He never tried to emphasize how bad the ass kicking was. And in this
Hmm.
game, there's 20 seconds left, and he gives Nick Chubb the ball at the 3 yard line. It was a holding call that pushed the play back, and they
hmm
knelt it out from there. But
hmm
he was trying to put a 50 burger on Clemson and make a point.
Yeah, I wish it would have happened.
Yeah. Um, and then this is just something fun that we tossed in here. It's something we might keep doing with Tell with everyone's. But what we miss about this era of college football. Um, the first one I have Todd Gurley and Nick Chubb, specifically those 2 guys.
Yeah. I mean, like elite backfields.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, the next one is also a two for I formations and fullbacks.
Hmm.
It's Quavon Hicks. I think 2024 Georgia, the running game is not near as bad as it was if they have a Quavon Hicks,
Yeah.
whose entire job was just, hey, go put your face mask in that guy's chest at 20 miles an hour now.
Yeah.
And it worked well.
Hmm.
Something that Georgia did in this game and at this time, track stances on kickoffs. Bring
Yeah.
that back. How intimidating would it be nowadays if you're just like, oh, they're about to kick the ball off, and you look down and see, I don't know, like Justin Williams in a track stance, just ready to
Yeah.
murder you.
Right. Yeah. That bring it back.
Dog bones on helmets. There weren't very many in this game.
Mhm.
This first game of the season. I still
Yeah.
I talk about it every time we talk about a game this old. We need those back. I loved it. Now I understand in the NIL era, you'd have to have a green one for like how many millions this guy's made, but
We just love,
it's
I
fine.
mean, love stickers. I felt like they did a good job, like Mark Richt did, of not overdoing it like Ohio State. Like Ohio State's helmets would be full, like
And
game
to
one.
be fair, like there were times that Georgia had players that the entire back of their helmet was covered, but at the same time, when you have like 1 centimeter wide by half a centimeter tall, it's a lot different than like an inch and a half circle sticker.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, I'm sure Clemson fans miss having an offensive line, just in general. They haven't had one in a while. Their offensive line in this game was pretty good until the fourth quarter.
Hmm. And go figure that Detroit drafts an offensive lineman from Clemson, a 7-5 Clemson team that couldn't protect Cade. But yeah,
This year,
yeah, this last draft, yeah. Instead of getting Monroe Freeling, they got uh, whatever his face, Blake something or other from Clemson.
so I'm gonna have to do some research, but I'm pretty sure Detroit just drafted the first Clemson offensive lineman that since 2015 that's been drafted.
Like period or like first round.
Yes, period.
That's a good one.
I would have to do some research, but I'm pretty sure that is a factual statement. Um, Another thing I miss: shitty tattoos on players and parents not wearing products of games and being obnoxious. Like you don't need a bedazzled shirt of your kid to go to a football game because the broadcast, if your kid's important, the broadcast knows who you are. And if your kid does something, you're going to be on TV.
Like DeAndre Swift's dad. They found that man every single
Every
broadcast.
single broadcast found DeAndre Swift's dad.
But at the same time, it's not like it's hard to find. I mean, God, yeah.
He did have to buy 2 seats just for his muscle.
Hmm.
Um, Linebackers
You're,
wearing numbers in the 50s.
yeah.
I miss that for no reason other than it's nostalgia. I get that the best linebacker at Georgia wears 3 now, but I miss a linebacker wearing 59. I just
Yeah, the
do.
50s. Yeah, the 50s should be a linebacker number.
Maybe a 40s, but if you're wearing a 40 as a linebacker, you've got to like break bones when you hit people.
Hmm. Big Beasley, well, wore like 44, I
He
think. I don't
did.
know if he wore it in Clemson, but
That was for the number of years that he was going to play football, 4 for the Falcons and 4 others.
yeah. So Clemson they had a offensive lineman taken in '06, and then they went 12 years without having another guy taken. That was a fourth rounder. They had a couple in 2020, 2021, 23, and then Blake Miller this year.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, no, like they're big going 12 years. Like they hadn't had a Blake Miller's first round pick they've had in over 20 years as
At
offensive
offensive
line.
line.
Yeah, 20. Yeah, they had a second rounder in 21, but outside of
Well,
that, everyone else has been day three picks.
the good news is we both have the same thought about Detroit for that.
You have other options on the board. Like let's get the guy that couldn't protect anybody, but he
Yeah,
started a bunch of games. So that's good
yeah,
for a shitty Clemson. Okay.
yeah. He must have like gone into the meeting with Dan Crenshaw and like Stone Cold Steve Austin some Red Bull and like headbutted a brick wall and he was like, "It's my guy, first round."
Lincoln Lincoln was excited for him because he had a mullet, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that checks out. That's probably why.
um, Another thing I missed: face masks that have such a tight weave that you can't see through them. We're
Hmm.
talking like what is it? 2010-ish era Justin Tuck
Yeah,
where it
that.
looks like a knight's helmet, and they were like, "Yeah, you can't actually have that." I don't know why they said he couldn't have that, other than it was way too badass. But
No fun league.
yeah, um, wide receivers that would block on the outside, like that one scene from the blind side of where Michael Orr blocks the kid through the end zone.
Yeah,
I
there you
miss
go.
that about football. Wide
Hmm.
receiver used to do that regularly. And then the last thing I miss, when refs didn't involve themselves in games as much.
Yeah, I like not knowing who the referees were.
Yeah. And this is not because I don't care about the referees, but the referees were just like, I was kind of holding, whatever.
Hmm.
The refs were like, I was kind of roughing the passer, whatever. We're like, let him
Hmm.
play. If the penalty affects the play, we call it. If it's holding on the outside of a guy that wasn't going to get to the quarterback anyways, and they ran the ball to the other side of the formation, no one cares.
Right.
Not a single person.
Hmm.
Um, and then things that we don't miss. I have the first two. Jeremy
Hmm.
Pruitt secondaries. Don't miss those. I don't.
No. Nope. Nope.
Um, and second, and this is something that I think I've talked on the podcast, the other direction. Bulldog bold font, which was what they called the number font they had in the mid 2010s at Georgia. I didn't hate it, but going back to the block letters and numbers for a few more years, the block letters and numbers are so much better.
So much better. Yeah.
So,
Yep. Hmm.
I don't hate the font, like the angled numbers, like it's not terrible. It's not Georgia.
The problem is, it seemed like a lot of teams had a very, very similar one. Like Florida basically had the same font, like for their numbers and stuff like that, and that bothered me.
That's fair. Yeah. Like I don't hate it. And if it was an occasional thing, I definitely don't hate it.
Hmm.
But it's not like to be a historic team and going with something that modern is just like every week. Is that we're doing that every week?
Right. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I had Georgia fans doing the SEC chants. They were kind of doing it late in the fourth quarter of this game. I get it. It's a rival from the ACC, I guess. But like honestly, when was the last time you heard Georgia fans do that?
2014 Clemson.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's been a long time.
Or did it happen at the end of the Rose Bowl?
Hmm.
Maybe.
I'll have to ask Sandy. I don't know.
I don't
I was
think
so
so,
drunk.
but it's possible. Like that's the only other time that I could think that it may have happened.
Yeah, I was so drunk. I was just crying happy tears. They could have been for all I know. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I think it probably started in jest because Dabo Sweeney, obviously the best record against the SEC of any active head coach at the time, like he was
Hmm.
he was kind of known to beat SEC teams not named South Carolina. That was like
Yeah.
what he did at the time.
Hmm.
Um, so it might have been started in jest and just went too far.
That checks out. Yeah.
But that's gonna do it for this episode of the Nothing Finder podcast. We kind of tried to not take the to hell with everyone's necessarily too deep into the weeds like we have in the past and kind of get into more of the nostalgia aspect of it.
Hmm.
Um, because that's kind of
Which what?
why. Go ahead.
No, I was like, which is kind of we were talking about this before we got on, but it was nice watching a game where you hope for the best, and obviously it came through this time instead of expecting it and being let down. That it's like the dog chasing the car and then finally getting it. It's like I don't know. Like I obviously love winning and all the stuff that's come in this era of Georgia football, but it was kind of cool to go back and see like game you don't necessarily expect to win and then you end up blowing them out like a rival. Like that's dope.
Yeah, and this is something that I don't know if me and you have talked about it on the show as much, but we've had conversations off the podcast about football's more fun when you don't expect to win every game.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
that has probably like a lot of people are probably screaming in their computer, phone, tablet, whatever you're listening to this through. But I think if we go back and like when when the rivalry games were actually rivalry games, like go back to 2012 Florida. Was it not so much more fun beating Florida when it wasn't an expectation? Like I would rather it be a close
Yeah.
game that you don't know what's going to happen than a close game where you're like, yeah, Georgia's significantly better than this team. There's no way it should be close, and then it is.
Like last season.
Right.
My God. Yeah, that
Yeah.
wasn't fun at all.
Right. And it's probably it's probably our perspective, but I think this is
Mhm.
something that we need to do a better job of is like if we told ourselves, and this is something we've talked about off the show before, is that if we told ourselves in 2016, coming off of a 7-5 season, in which you only got bowl eligible by beating an Auburn team off of a pick six, scoring no offensive touchdowns, and
Mhm.
then beating TCU in a close Liberty Bowl to a guy you've never heard of before. If you told Georgia fans on December 30th, 2016, that, hey, you're going to win 4 of the next 8 SEC championships and 2 national titles in the next 8 years,
Everybody was signing for that.
everybody would sign up for that. Like, does it suck that Georgia's lost in back-to-back Sugar Bowls? Sure.
Mhm.
Top 4 seed 2 years in a row.
Yeah,
SEC
back-to-back
championship
SEC championships,
2 years in a row. Like,
beating all your rivals. I mean, everything you want.
yeah, like let's do as fans, and I say this because I still want the expectation within the walls of the football program to be undefeated, win every game by 40 points, including the national championship. Like I want that to be the expectation there.
Yeah. Mhm.
But as fans, like let's all just try and do a better job of enjoying the run that Georgia's on because it's unprecedented within Georgia's program.
Yeah, exactly. It's supposed to be fun. It's a game. Have fun with it. It's not work,
And we're not
but
playing in it. We don't have to
right,
take an ice bath at the end of the game.
right.
We're not going to wake up feeling like we got in a car accident yesterday.
If you did, you probably were having too much fun.
Don't drink and drive.
No, no, I meant more. So you're drinking too much at home, and you're feeling it because you're old and
Oh,
drinking by yourself watching games.
oh, like not an actual car accident.
Yeah, no, no, no. God, no.
All right, that's going to do it for the Nothing Finer podcast. As always, follow us on social media at nothing.finer.pod on Instagram, at finerpod on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Look us up. You will find us there. But most importantly, y'all remember there is nothing finer in the land.
Then winning a fantasy baseball championship in your first year.
I'm beating you this week, so it doesn't matter.
It's 7-4 right now. It was 12-0 earlier, but anyway.
All right, see y'all.